Test, test, test. There we go. Sometimes I'm dumb. Sometimes I have trouble figuring things out. All right. So just to make sure everybody is aware, Lloyd couldn't make it today, so it's just me. So things will be a little bit different. Usually we do this more of a live to tape kind of thing, where I just hit record and Lloyd and I talk, and then I hit stop recording. I do a little bit of editing, and then I put the episode out. But because it's just me today and talking non-stop for an hour is kind of tough. What I'm gonna do the show today how I usually do one of my other shows, Nintendo Switchcraft, where I record a segment, I pause it, and then I don't know what you guys are referring to, but what is this? Don't reply to that, idiot. In fact, we'll go ahead and remove them. Guys, when you see somebody trolling like that, don't feed the trolls. Just ban them. No Lloyd. Well, as I was saying, there's no Lloyd today. So, when you are, so I'll record a segment. I'll stop recording. I'll chat with you guys a little bit, and then I'll hit record again, record the next segment, and so on. But yeah, guys, don't feed the trolls. All right. Happy Sunday. That's right. Lars, what's my expectations for Crowdplay beta test tomorrow? Well, it actually already happened. There was somebody who did it yesterday. I've got some screenshots, and I'll talk about that today. If you want the show notes, I've got the show notes right here. There you go. There's the show notes, so you guys can follow along with the topics for today. But hey, you know what? We've got all of that stuff out of the way. Before I do get started, though, actually, I'll save that. Well, no, before I do get started, throughout the week, we've had some people become members. So thank you to Bowser, Jacob, and Emilio for becoming members. And, of course, thank you to Darren Pogue for their super chat, which I'll get to at the end of the show, or at the second half of the show. But let me go ahead and pause the music. And we'll minimize that. Actually, we'll just close it. No, I'll just minimize it. All right. Here we go. It's time for an MP3, everybody. And I'm going to turn that down just a little bit so it's not distracting. And turn that down. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back to Stadiacast. I'm Bill, and today I'm here all by myself. If you're listening to the podcast, you didn't hear the pre-show where I explained exactly what's going on. Lloyd couldn't make it today. He messaged me a little bit before the show went live, and so I'm here doing this all by myself. But that's okay. I do solo podcasts 3 days a week. I'm used to it. I've had lots and lots of practice. Before we get started with the show, we do record this show live on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can join us over at youtube.com/Stadiacast. If you want to directly support the show and you're here with us live, you can use the super chat feature. Not only will that support the show, but it will also guarantee that we see your message. Usually there's well over 100 people hanging out in chat, and chat goes by at a pretty good clip. So I can't see everything that people say. So you use that super chat feature to make sure that we see what you say, and I'll respond to each and every super chat in the second half of the show, which we call Crowdplay, where we talk about what you want us to talk about. If you're not here with us live and you want to support the show, there is a way for you to do that. You can click on the join button right down below the video, and that join button will give you access to our emotes to use when you're here with us live. We'll get access to some videos early, and it will also get you access to our supporters only Discord channel. Speaking of Discord, we have lots and lots of people on our Discord. You can join us over on our Discord in the non-supporters channel by joining us over at runjumpstomp.com, and then there's a click a button that says Discord that you can click and take you right there. All right. With all of that being said, listen, we have a lot. I've got a lot to talk about. I keep saying we because I'm used to having Lloyd here. I've got a lot to talk about today. So let's get started. Okay. Let's start with, oh, you know what? I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to save that because I got a good intro and I don't want the next thing that I say to mess that up. There we go. And I'm going to save what I've got so far. So normally I would just go into the next thing. There we go. And we'll go Stadiacast. All right. All right, here we go. So each week I start off by talking about what it is that I've been playing, and I'm going to go in reverse order for what I've been playing. Yesterday, our Elder Scrolls Online guild played a whole bunch of Elder Scrolls Online. There were like 12 of us. We did a trial, which is like kind of, I don't want to say end game content, but pretty higher level content. And it took us like 3 hours or something because we didn't know the fight, and it took us a while to get 12 people together because not everybody's level 50. But we finally got everybody together, and then we did the fight, and oh my god, it was so absolutely fun. I had such a blast. So Elder Scrolls Online. We had some people playing on PC. We had some people playing on Stadia, and everything just worked really, really well. Except there is this bug that's been known about for a while. And I don't know what is taking so long to get this fixed, but it has something to do with if you're on Stadia and you join a group and you like say something, it will kick you out of the game. And this is a PSA. So what we ended up doing to get around this is we had our group leader invite just the Stadia people first, and then they invited the PC people, and everything worked. I don't know if that's the right way to go about it. What would be even better is if ZeniMax would fix whatever this bug is, because it is pretty frustrating. But, Elder Scrolls Online is a fantastic game, but it is incredibly buggy. And it's buggy on PC, it's buggy on PS4, it's just buggy everywhere. So it's also going to be buggy on Stadia, but man, we had so much fun yesterday. Okay, and then yesterday was the first of the month, which means that we also got access to some pro games. Now, so far, I've only played one of those pro games because we had scheduled the trial in Elder Scrolls, so I didn't have a bunch of time yesterday. And I played Kona. My first look is up on the YouTube channel if you haven't already checked that out. If you don't know what Kona is, it is a first-person adventure game. I would compare it very heavily to Firewatch. I'm about an hour into it, and I edited that hour down to roughly 20 minutes of gameplay that you actually get to see in the first look. I was very careful when editing to edit around spoilers. So there's some things that you're going to see when you play it, and you're going to be like, oh, I understand why Bill didn't show that. So If you've already watched the first look, don't worry about too much about spoilers. I think that you'll be okay. I was pretty careful, so there shouldn't be too many spoilers in there. I edited it around the spoilers, which took me a long time. But that game's really cool. I will say this. The sensitivity of the controller is way too high. Way too high. So the first thing that I did was I turned the sensitivity down in order to deal with that. And I turned off mouse smoothing. I was playing on a controller, though. But I turned off mouse smoothing, and it felt a lot better. I don't know what mouse smoothing is, but I had a problem with that in Doom, and I had a problem with that in Kona. But I recommend Kona. Like I said, I'm very early on in the game, but I really did have fun with it. And then the other game that I played this week, I got a review copy of Celeste, which came out this week on Google Stadia, and I waited way too long to play this game. This game is fantastic. It's so good. I was, I'd watched some gameplay, some footage of it, and I said, this looks way too hard for me. There's no way I'm going to enjoy myself because it's going to be way too hard. And I am here to tell you that I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong about Celeste being too hard. It is a very high difficulty, but the most amount of time that you ever lose when you die is like the last 10 seconds. Now, you may replay that 10 seconds 58 times before you get past it, but when you get past it, there's this sense of satisfaction. Is just awesome. I really love Celeste. I'm probably about 4 hours into it so far, and I'm having so much damn fun. It's really good. The story is really good. I did a first look. I cut around all of the story stuff, although it's still very nebulous as to what exactly is going on. But I was describing this to somebody, and I said, you are a girl climbing a mountain while being chased by your inner demons, basically. Your self-doubt and things like that. It's very cool, and I understand why it won all of those awards. It's got fantastic music. I adore the art style. And I said it probably last week. Well, maybe not last week. I said it in the past that 100% this is a game that needs to have an extremely low latency in order for you to succeed, because it requires pixel perfect platforming, and I love alliteration, so I always look for a chance to say this. It requires you to be pixel perfect with your platforming if you want to succeed. And I didn't feel any lag whatsoever. The developer did a great job on the port. I love Celeste. What a fantastic game. There we go. We got segment 2 done. Let me go ahead and save. Let's see. Thank you very much for the super chats, Defile and Avery. I appreciate that. I will get to Avery's comment at the end of the show. Is there an easy mode on Celeste? I'm not great at precise platformers. So, Bowser, great question. I haven't turned it on to test it out yet, but there is something called assist mode. And I think, if I remember correctly, reading about it, I think that assist mode lets you turn certain things on or off that I don't remember what they were because I read about it a couple years ago, but it's so good. Darren Pogue says, how does Crowdplay work on a Chromecast? I don't know, because I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but there was a streamer who did it yesterday. They were not using a Chromecast. They were capturing their browser window. Sukotronic, thank you very much for the super chat. Excuse me. All right. Let's do the next segment. So there's a game that people have been asking about for a very long time. Ever since Stadia, well, okay, a very long time is relative. Stadia has only been out for 8 months now. So not a very long. Well, how long? November to August, right? Well, hold on a sec. Let me stop recording for a second. I want to know how long has it been out. Delete. Um, all right, I was right. It was 8 months. So I was right about that. Let's try it again. Stadia officially launched. Well, officially launched. It's hard to say officially launched, like when that was, because we had the beta period that started 8 months ago. Google didn't call it a beta period, but I've always called it a beta period because it felt like, you had to buy the hardware in order to use it. You had to have a buddy code in order to try it. And then eventually that stuff went away. But 8 months ago is when most of the people who are hanging out in my chat. Oh, I've got to start that over again. Officially launched. Equivocating nonstop. See, this is this is how my other show goes because I don't have time to think while somebody else is talking. Oh, all right. Google didn't call it a beta, but 8 months ago is when I would say the beta of Stadia launched. So, 8 months, in the last 8 months, we've had a lot of people asking about this one game over and over and over. In fact, I think every single stream that I've done, there has been people who've come in and said, Bill, do you know when Fortnite is coming to Google Stadia? And my answer is always no, I don't know when Fortnite is coming to Google Stadia. If I knew when Fortnite was coming to Google Stadia, I would have made a video about it. Not because I'm a huge fan of Fortnite, because I think objectively it is a good game. It's just not a game that I really enjoy because I don't like the building elements of it. But it's a very popular game. And it's a game that would bring a lot of players to Stadia because they would be able to play at higher resolutions and better frame rates than they can do on their current hardware. And that's a problem that a lot of people have is that they don't have good hardware, and so when they're playing and they're playing against other people who are on PC, they have this huge disadvantage because if you've got like this monster $3,000 PC, it's going to outperform most people's computers, and that means that you're going to struggle to win. But anyway, there's been a lot of people asking about Fortnite, and I think that Fortnite would be fantastic on Google Stadia. I've played a lot of shooters on Stadia, and it feels great. It plays great. I played through the entirety of Doom Eternal on Stadia. Had an absolute blast. Division 2 is, in my opinion, the best port on Stadia as far as how the shooting feels. Like, I could not tell that I was playing on a server a million miles away. It's so impressive. And I think that Fortnite could do that too. And H. Dort on Twitter sent a message to Tim Sweeney, who is the guy in charge of Epic Games, who owns Fortnite. And they said, why isn't Fortnite on Google Stadia? And Tim Sweeney replied. He said, there's not a deep reason. We fully support Stadia in Unreal Engine. However, the effort required to release Fortnite updates weekly in sync across 7+ platforms is extreme. And that makes it hard to add platforms that don't yet have mass market user bases, at which point so many people got super mad. And I have to say, listen, everybody, he's 100% right. This is coming from somebody who knows nothing about game development, but I've been following the gaming industry for a long time. Yeah, doing updates and syncing them across 7 platforms is a lot of work. I'm going to switch gears and talk about another game and another platform for a little bit. Let's go back to Overwatch on Nintendo Switch. Jeff Kaplan, the guy in charge of Overwatch, all right, he was asked over and over and over again, when are you bringing Overwatch to Nintendo Switch? And he kept giving the same answer. Look, we love the Switch. We would absolutely love to have our game on the Switch, but it's an online game, right? And the thing that they like to do is have all of the platforms at parity, where, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC all get the same patches at the same time. That is a lot of work. And I'm not just talking about for programming, because it's also a lot of work on the back end where they have to say, all right, we're going to submit this patch, and they submit it to PlayStation. They submit it to Microsoft, and they don't really have to worry about submitting it to PC, but they submit it to those 2 platforms, and PlayStation says, we need you to fix this. So now the patch is delayed on all platforms because they want to have the same day release of every single patch. Hopefully that makes sense to you. This is the same exact thing that Tim Sweeney is talking about with Stadia. And he's taking it one step further, and he's saying, look, right now the user base isn't there to justify the expense it would incur for us to make sure that we have now another platform coming out and having weekly syncs. Now, like, if you look back at Overwatch, they don't update weekly. All right? They update like every once in a while, but they update the same, like they have the same update going across all platforms. Fortnite updates their game every single week, which is an insane amount of work to do for even one platform, let alone a whole bunch of other platforms. Okay? So for him to say, look, 7 platforms is extreme and makes it hard for us to add platforms that don't yet have a mass market user bases, I understand that. Now, let's go back to that Switch analogy, and I'm going to give you one more piece of information. The Nintendo Switch came out on March 3rd, 2017, and Fortnite did not come to the Nintendo Switch until E3 the next year. Stadia has only been around for 8 months. And on top of that, Stadia hasn't really, like, that first part, even if Google didn't call it a beta, it was a beta, all right? It wasn't released to everybody until this year. So really, we're in the infancy of Stadia, and it took Epic Games almost a year and a half to port Fortnite onto the Nintendo Switch. So will we see Fortnite on Stadia? I think maybe we will someday in the future when Stadia has more people using the platform. But to expect a company who is making money hand over fist to say, we're going to port to this platform that doesn't have a lot of people playing on it, doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. However, I do think if they did, if Fortnite was available on Stadia, it would be a very good thing for the platform itself. I also think it would help out Fortnite. I bet you that there's a lot of people who don't play Fortnite because they don't have the hardware to play Fortnite. Like I remember when my son first installed Fortnite on his computer, his older computer. Man, that ran like garbage on his computer. It wasn't until I upgraded my graphics card and stuff like that and gave him my hand-me-downs that he was able to really play it on his computer, and have it run pretty well. So, look, I understand that there's a lot of people out there that want certain games to come to Google Stadia. I think that is going to take time. And of course, there's the argument that people will make that there's a chicken and egg scenario here. They won't make games for a platform that doesn't have a lot of users, but the platform can't get a lot of users without the games. And while I can understand the logic behind that argument, you also have to remember that on this particular platform, there is no buy-in. You don't have to spend any money in order to play Stadia outside of just buying a game. So that user base is going to grow over time. It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And here's the next thing, the next argument that I feel like I need to make is you have to remember that Stadia doesn't have an end date. When you are talking about a Nintendo Switch or a PS4 or an Xbox One, those all have an end date. A date when that platform is no longer viable because the next version of that platform is out. Stadia doesn't have that problem because when the next version of Stadia comes out, it'll be Stadia. They'll just upgrade the servers, and I won't have to buy anything. I won't have to leave behind the older Stadia to get the newer Stadia. And so over time, and this is one of the reasons why I saw what Google was doing, and I said that's going to be huge, and I stand by that. Stadia is going to be huge, but people need to learn to be patient. The Switch didn't get Google Stadia. The Switch didn't get Fortnite until almost a year and a half after it launched. I think that we can wait a little bit more for it to come to Google Stadia. There we go. Save. Jem, thank you for the super chat. Ray, thank you for the super chat. I want to play that game. I'm going to eventually. Yeah, but Destiny 2, I don't know if Destiny 2 updates every week. I don't have an answer for that. But it also is only on 4 platforms as opposed to way more. No, 3 platforms. No, 4 platforms. Sorry. Let's see. I don't agree with Tim Sweeney. How many different variations of Ps, Xbox, and PCs are there? Stadia has maybe 2. Blade 1 versus Blade 2. Right. But that's... Okay, so Mind Plague. Here's the thing that you got to keep in mind. Let's say that Epic Games... The way that consoles work, and Stadia is very much works in the same way as a console. The way that consoles work is that the developers make a game, then they submit that game gets approved by the platform holder, and then the game comes out. The game gets patched, that patch gets submitted to the platform holder, it gets approved by the platform holder, and then that patch comes out. So when you're dealing with Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Android, iOS, and PC, Stadia would be number 7, okay? When you're dealing with that many platforms and you submit a patch and one of them, maybe 2 of them, say, oh, you've got to fix this before we can launch your patch, now you've got a problem. And Stadia behaves in that way like other platforms where the patches have to be approved by the platform holder. And because of that, it adds a whole bunch of extra work to add another platform. It's not simply about porting. It's about getting platform approval on 7 different platforms. That's a ridiculous amount of work. Dwayne Anderson, if you think Fortnite is on life support, you are crazy. There's no way. That game is huge. Savage McQueen, Fortnite can stay away from Stadia. We don't need it. That is a horrible argument. While you're right, we don't need it, there are people who would like to play it who want to play it on Stadia. And so it should come to this platform. Because if you want this platform to succeed, then you want to have games that other people want, not just the games that you want. All right. Moving on. Moving on. What do we got here? What is this? What does this click? I got to see what this is. Oh, yeah. All right. All right. Where's my icon here? Here we go. All right, up next is Crowdplay. Not Crowdplay, the second half of this show where I talk about what you guys want me to talk about, but Crowdplay as in the actual feature that Google Stadia talked about when they first unveiled Google Stadia back at GDC 2019. No, 2018? 2019. I can't remember now. 2019. Yeah, it's 2019. Anyway, let's talk about this. What is the Crowdplay feature? Well, let's say I, as a content creator, I'm streaming a game, a multiplayer game, and you want to join. Right below chat, there's a button that says "Join Now," and I turn on Crowdplay, and basically there's a line that forms of people who click that button, and then they can join in with a game with me. We play. They get kicked out. The next person takes their spot. We play. They get kicked out, and so on. It's a really, really cool feature and something that you can do on Twitch using like add-ons, not add-ons, but like, bots and things like that. It's very complicated. It's not easy to do. It's a huge, huge pain in order to do this on Twitch. And one of the things that I found to be really exciting about Google Stadia was this YouTube live streaming and Crowdplay, making it so much easier for the streamer to play with their audience. Well, they have finally started their limited YouTube live streaming. This is a story that comes from 9 to 5 Google, and they talk about this guy, Kareem Jovian, or I think it's Jovian. And he basically says that Monday at 5 p.m. he's going to be trying out Crowdplay. But somebody actually beat him to it. There was another YouTuber who beat him to it, and actually, I didn't write his name down, and I forget. It starts with a J, and I bet somebody in chat will tell me what the guy's name was. But he did Crowdplay ahead of time. Yesterday, I believe it was. And I went back and I took some screenshots from his stream, as did fellow content creator and community member Gem Stadia. Okay, yes, people in chat are telling me it's Juggernaut. I don't know how to say it, but Juggernaut, I guess. Anyway, so first off, let's take a look at the screenshots that Gem took. If you don't follow Gem Stadia on Twitter, he does a lot of stuff where he goes into like the code of like the APK teardowns. He does stuff where he goes into like the website and looks for little hints and clues about upcoming features, stuff that I don't have the the time nor the inclination to do. But he posted these screenshots, which you guys can see right here, where if you're not watching the video, if you're listening to the podcast, then you can check out the show notes in order to see these same images. But it says right here, it says play with Juggernaut, right? And basically there's chat, and right below chat, it shows that he was playing Mortal Kombat 11, and you can click the buy and play button. And then he has another, I didn't mean to close that. Here's another tweet, I believe, that he was replied to himself. Now, if you don't have Stadia, it says play on Stadia. So you click that and it signs you up for an account. If you do have Stadia, it says buy and play. And if you already own the game, then it has a button that says play and tells you that there are 8 people in line ahead of you, which is really, really cool. This is awesome, and I absolutely can't wait to be able to try it myself on my own platform, youtube.com/Stadiacast. So let's take a look at what the interface looked like for Juggernaut, because I went and I watched his stream, not the whole thing. I just kind of paged through it to see what I could see. It looks like he was playing through OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, which is the same software that I use on to stream this out. Okay, so let's take a look at it. He has this thing right here. It says Crowdplay is on, and it says live stream, and then there's a button here for YouTube link, and it says right here he's live streaming, that there's 87 watching, and it looks like I'm guessing this is how long he had been streaming for. And then it shows that he has 2 players in line on YouTube. That YouTube link, that is very interesting to me. The reason that's interesting to me is because I think that is the way that you can stream on Google Stadia, or I'm sorry, on YouTube, without using the OBS software. He was using the OBS software, so the YouTube link wasn't doing anything. But there was a point during his stream where he had shown that, and it just shows, it says YouTube details, video ID, enter the ID of your YouTube live stream. Now, I'm trying to understand if that means the stream key or if that means the ID for the live stream. And for that, I'm a little confused how that works. You can also hide notifications over the game, which, God, I wish you could just do that all the time anyway on Stadia. And hide the viewer count over the game, which I'm going to give you a helpful bit of advice. If you are a content creator, like a streamer, don't have the viewer count visible to you, because it's going to mess with your brain. So always hide that. He also has the ability to turn on Crowdplay, and you can also set it to for your YouTube members only. So if I wanted to, I could say, hey guys, we're going to do a Crowdplay stream today. It's going to be just for members, which I think is very, very cool. We're going to hit show. All right, so Random Noob in chat just said the ID for this stream is, and what he's talking about is basically the end of the URL. But here's the question that I have then. Okay, if that YouTube link is just a copy from the link, how do I start the stream? Are you guys with me? How do I start the stream without OBS? Like, because I'm still confused about this, because this seems like you're streaming without using OBS, but I don't know how to start the stream without OBS in order to get that URL. Oh, wait a second, because I can create. Okay, I figured it out. My brain just did the math. Okay. So here's what you do. You create an event, like usually early in the morning on Sundays, you see that there's a new Stadiacast, and like you click on it, it says live in 6 hours or something, and then you can get that link from there. But how does that keep other people from doing it? Still more information is needed on my part. Anyway, I had a bunch of people ask me well, Bill, how come you guys didn't get to do this Crowdplay testing first? And I don't know why, but I can understand why Google decided to go with other people. By going with other people instead of like Stadiacast, by going with somebody who is not already doing Stadia stuff, they will probably expose their audience to Stadia stuff. Like everybody who watches my stuff, they already know what Stadia is. They're already sold on Stadia. Google is trying to sell people on Stadia. Boy, that sounds bad. They're trying to convince people they're trying to convince people to try out Stadia. And here they'd be preaching to the choir. So I can understand why they would do that, to go with somebody else. And you know what? I'm going to say the same thing that I said to a lot of people who messaged me. There's nothing I can do about this, so I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm just going to move on. All right. When I finally have the ability to do Crowdplay, I'm absolutely going to do Crowdplay, but I'm not going to hold a grudge against Stadia for not picking me. I don't think that's not worth my time. I think it's just easier to say, hey man, this is the same advice I give to everybody all the time. If there's something you can do about something that's bothering you, then do it. If there's not, then just shut up about it, stop worrying, and move on with your life, because all you're doing is causing yourself stress. That's the same thing that I say to anybody who's worried about anything. So I'm not worried that we didn't get picked for this. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me even a little. It would be nice, but it doesn't bug me. Anyway, moving on. All right. Yeah, yeah, phase 10 I agree. It has to be like a stream key. It has to be a stream key. But why get streamers who don't game on YouTube regularly? I don't know. But like I said, why worry about it? There's no reason to worry about it. Just move on. You'll be happier if you just move on. I'd rather have authentic people use YouTube Stadia integration than have big accounts paid for one and done. I can understand that, but guess what, Dwayne Anderson? Someday I'll be able to try it out, and then you get to hang out with us. Let's see. What other things did people say? They paid Jack Frags to play PUBG on Stadia, and he hasn't touched it again. Well, that's because it was paid for. Like, that was an ad. Anthony says, it may just be me, but I haven't really seen Google pushing a lot of content creators for Stadia. I think the last time the streamer had was, I think the last time was the streamer they had during a Connect last year. Recently Google asked for, I don't know, like Stadia stories or something. I didn't bother to submit anything, because I don't want to be that guy that just shows up and starts advertising my stuff, you know? Let's see. What else? Scrolling up, seeing what people are saying. I knew that there was a super chat in there. Michael Peterson, thank you for the super chat. I will get to it at the second half of the show. Same thing with Lance. I appreciate that. All right, I think I got all the ones that jumped out at me. All right. Michael Peterson says, I feel kind of dumb, but is there an easier way to find live Crowdplay streams currently streaming? No, probably not. But what I would say it will probably happen in the future is that, like, when I'm streaming a game, I'll put it in the title. I'll be like, Crowdplay. So if you are searching for, like, you'll look for a certain game, right? Like maybe you want to play, I don't know, Mortal Kombat, like Juggernaut was playing. Oh, that's how you say it, Juggernaut. There we go. My brain finally figured it out. If you want to play Mortal Kombat like he was, you'll look for Mortal Kombat streams, and then you'll see, oh, this guy's playing with Crowdplay on, because they'll have it in the title. All right, let's move on. Where are we on time? About half an hour. Okay. Let me double check something. Hey, Mr. Savage McQueen, thank you very much for becoming a supporter. You're awesome. All right. Up next, we're going to talk about Avengers. I will say this. That game was announced back in 2017, and we didn't hear anything until E3 last year. And then E3 last year, they showed some stuff, and I personally was like, all right, it's okay. Maybe I'll play it. It looks interesting. And then they did the War Table, which I think that was last month. Well, okay, it's August now, so I think it was in June. Maybe it was at the beginning of July. I can't remember. It doesn't matter when it was. But we had the War Table where they showed off a lot of gameplay with Thor. Of course, it was heavily scripted gameplay, but that's perfectly fine. I'm looking forward to... oh, and then they had a War Table this week, which I forgot to watch, and I apologize for that. Anyway, that game is coming on September 4th. And I know that there's a lot of people who are very, very much looking forward to it. Well, guess what? It is also coming on September 4th to Google Stadia. So that means that we are getting this game, it's a weird phrase, but day and date. I don't know why people say that phrase, but that's a phrase that we say. So we're getting it the same day as the other platforms on Stadia. And look, we go back and we see that, Game X is coming out, and it's not coming out on the same day on Stadia that it comes to other platforms, and people get super mad about that. And I can understand why people would be disappointed about stuff like that, because they want to play the game that everybody else is playing at the same time that everybody else is playing it. I understand that. I totally get it. I'm with you. But game development takes a long time, right? It takes a really, really long time. And Stadia has only been out, and it hasn't even really been out for 8 months, but it's been out for 8 months. And so it takes time for that development to happen. And I would say that up until probably next year, right? 2021. Up until 2021, I would say every single game that comes to Google Stadia is a port. Even the games that are exclusive to Google Stadia. They started working on those games on other platforms and decided to move them to Stadia instead, or early. Maybe Google money hatted it. Maybe they just decided that this was a better place for them. I don't know why, but they ended up moving their game onto Google Stadia, but they started working on it on other platforms. It's going to be a while before we see a game that comes to Google Stadia that the development work began with Stadia in mind and after Stadia was announced. Like that's just going to take a long time for that to happen, because games take a long time. So I'm very happy to see that we're going to be playing Marvel's Avengers alongside all of the other platforms. That's exciting. I think that that's fantastic. And as time goes on, we will start to see this kind of thing happen more and more. This just kind of cements, I don't like to be the I told you so guy, but this kind of cements what we've been saying here on this show over and over, is that yes, this kind of thing will happen eventually, You just have to be patient. Go back to my Fortnite argument where I talked about the idea that we have to be patient, that Stadia doesn't have an end date. Stadia is a brand new platform. It takes time. But hey, you know what? Square Enix, thank you for shipping your game on the same day for Google Stadia as it does for other platforms. If it came later, would I have played it on another platform? I don't know. Maybe. I probably would have waited, though. I almost never touch my PlayStation anymore. Why? Because I don't want to patch anything. So Dwayne Anderson says, well, the big reason is because of Stadia's decision to go with Linux, though, isn't it? Well, yes, but what you have to understand is that by going with Vulkan instead of what everybody else is using, right? And by going with Vulkan, they are using a more open source platform, right? That also has less overhead and performs better. So the other thing that you have to remember is Vulkan is relatively new. And because of that, developers are still figuring out how everything works. Jarrah says, I don't mind if it comes same date, but I need them to address why it isn't coming on the same date like Cyberpunk and Destroy All Humans. Because it's not ready, Jarrah. That's the reason. It's because it's not ready. They have a lot more work to do in order to get it running on this platform. Remember, they're using Vulkan. Many of these developers are using Vulkan for the first time, right? And it's a brand new hardware architecture that these developers have never used before. So they've got new Vulkan, they've got new hardware, and that means that developers have to learn how to use it. You go back and look at the PS3. You look at the games that came out when the PS3 first came out. And then you look at the games that came out at the end of the PS3's life cycle, and you'll see a huge difference in the ability of developers to push that hardware much, much harder. You're going to see that same thing with Google Stadia. The developers are going to get better with Vulkan over time. And because of that, things are just going to get better and better and better, especially because we don't have to, buy the next thing and abandon the old thing. Jeremy, just so you know, the phrase is tone deaf, not tone deaf. Tone deaf, like hearing. All right. All right. Here we go. It's not a huge mess up, Jeremy. It's not a big deal. All right. Let's get back to it, everybody. This isn't new information, but hey, I you know what? I'm going to applaud the ESRB for holding back because the ESRB, they leak stuff all the time. They have like the leakiest ship that I've ever seen. Every time that I find out about some game coming to Google Stadia, it's because the ESRB has posted it to their website ahead of time. Now, does this 100% of the time work out? No, but usually it works out. But we have two things have posted to the ESRB recently, and that is Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice and Super Bomberman R Online. Now, I've never played Sekiro. I'm not really interested in it. It looks too hard for me. I believe, you know what? Somebody in chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it's from Software, which is the same devs that make the Dark Souls games. And the Dark Souls games, like I have Dark Souls 3. Oh my god, that game is impossible. So I think that Sekiro is a game that plays like the Dark Souls games from what I've seen. I could be wrong. But, okay. Stadia Gamer in chat is saying yes. Dwayne Anderson is confirming. So, yeah. From Software is a developer that I usually avoid. Not because I don't think that they make good games, but because I am just not good enough to play their games. Then Superman Bomberman R Online. This of all of the games that they showed off in the Stadia Connect last week or the week before, I can't even remember now. This was the one that I was the most excited for. This one looks really, really fun. I have Super Bomberman R on my Nintendo Switch. That game is fantastic. It's really, really fun. And then for them to put in the online component where you're playing against 64 other people on all of the different on the different screens, man, that is just so interesting to me. And this would be another perfect game for Crowdplay, where I could be streaming a game like right now. There's a couple of hundred people watching this stream. People could all queue up. We could play together and then get the next group of people in. We could keep rotating through everybody over and over with 64 players. I'm really looking forward to Super Bomberman R Online. Now, normally, what happens is the ESRB puts stuff and then the games come out a few weeks later. However, I think that when you're talking about a port, that logic kind of falls apart because unless there's a whole lot of things that have changed in that port, then they can kind of base their ESRB rating based on what they did for the previous thing. So they may push that stuff out ahead of time. And Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, I assume, would be almost exactly the same as it would be on any other platform. Super Bomberman R is a game that is rated E for everyone. Putting it online adds so little to that game that the only thing that the ESRB really has to worry about is that users interact or that there's in-game purchases or something like that. So I think that this is going to be a huge game. I can't wait for it. We don't know when it's coming, but I hope it's coming soon because Super Bomberman R Online looks fantastic. I'm curious. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're watching this on our YouTube channel. Which game from the Kinect were you most excited for? All right, reply in the comment section down below. Oh, Sekiro is coming on October 28th. Okay, I did not know that. I probably did know that, but I've forgotten it because I'm old. So Jay Chussell is saying that they started rolling out achievements in the app. I'm going to look, but I don't really care about achievements. Says achievements coming soon on the iPhone app. I don't have the Android app. Bill and I should cosplay for Hitman. All we need is a barcode over our heads. I've had a lot of students tell me that I look like Kratos. All right, moving on. So we recently we didn't receive anything, but we got a gameplay trailer for a game called Spiritfarer, which I had never heard of. I don't know anything about this game at all. But watch the video, and I have to say, this game is beautiful. The animation that you see in this game is some of the best animation that I have ever seen in what I assume is a 2D platform mixed with a rhythm game, mixed with a management game. It's kind of weird. Looks very, very interesting. I love the art style that they've gone with. I don't necessarily know that this is the kind of game that I would really enjoy. I don't like management games very much. I do like platformers. But what I found is a lot of times I say to myself, oh, this game looks amazing. I definitely want to play this game. And then I play it and I'm like, yeah, this is great. I love this. And then I never go back to it. I don't know why that is, but good God, Spiritfarer is absolutely beautiful. It comes from Thunder Lotus Games. It comes out in 2020. And Stadia interviewed them. Now, of course, you have to take the interviews on Stadia or on the official community thing with a grain of salt, because they're going to have all of their stuff ahead of time. They're not going to ask any really tough questions. But there was one answer in this interview that I thought was very, very interesting, and that was right down here. And this is the question that they always ask in these interviews. They said, "Why are you excited to bring Spiritfarer to Stadia?" And this goes right back to what I was talking about with Fortnite. All right, so let me read you Thunder Lotus Games' answer. They said, "I believe Stadia is the first step in bringing state-of-the-art gaming experience into reach for players who have been unwilling or unable to invest in top dollar every few years for new hardware. For example, Spiritfarer," that's a hard game to say, Spiritfarer is simply not playable on a PC without a dedicated graphics card. But with Stadia, players can experience Spiritfarer on their phone, TV, or other PCs, which means that more people who are interested in our game will be able to play it. More people who are interested in our game will be able to play it. That quote right there, that is one of the reasons why I believe that developers and publishers see Google Stadia in a good light. Even if a lot of the YouTubers out there are constantly telling everybody how awful Stadia is, the publishers, even the ones who have not currently announced something for Stadia, they can look at Stadia and they can say, look, there's a lot of people out there who can't afford or who choose not to invest in hardware because it's too expensive, but they might still be interested in playing a game. And we can reach those people, which I think that there's a lot more of those people than there are of the people who are like me, who buy a lot of hardware. I think there's way more people who are interested in gaming, but not enough to invest in hardware. And if they can play a game without buying a box, that is a very, very compelling option, both for the consumer and for the developer. And I think not only will Stadia succeed because of that, not only will developers bring their games to Stadia because of that, but I think that Stadia has the ability to grow the gaming market in a way that can really help benefit the entire industry. Save. All right. No, Victor, I disagree with that, man. Indies are always great. You want to have indies on your platform because they bring in a lot of people. You can't only worry about the quote unquote core gamer. Sleepy Fox says, unfortunately, I don't think many of those people are jumping onto Stadia, though it's growing, I suppose. I think that you suffer from being impatient and possibly even myopic. You got to, don't be short-sighted. Think about the long term. You bought a new TV due to Stadia? Or the gaming industry as a whole. Oh, did we go down? No, we're fine. I haven't dropped any frames or anything. That's weird. Let me look at the thing here. Stream health. Says stream is healthy. I'm not running into any issues here. Oh, I understand, Greg Doyle. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, YouTube is telling me that my stream is fine and that OBS is telling me I've dropped 0 frames. That's weird. Tosier, I'm only here to play top quality titles without a console, as I was never able to before Stadia, and I would love to see more indie titles too. And yes, I've studied there too. Well, we're back. All right. There we go. It's time for Crowdplay. So let me hit that button. It's time for Crowdplay. Crowdplay is the second half, not the feature. Maybe someday. I would absolutely love it if we had access to Crowdplay, but we don't yet. But it's time for Crowdplay. It's the second half of the show, and this is the part where I talk about all of the things that you sent in. If you've ever been to one of my open mics, basically where I just sit here and I chat about whatever you guys are talking about, that's kind of how this works. People are using the super chat feature to get their comments featured so that we can, because there's well over 200 people here right now, so it makes it hard for us to see everything that everybody's saying. And so people use the super chat feature in order to A, support the show, and B, make sure that we see it. And we reply to each and every single super chat that comes in. So first off, I have to thank a bunch of people who became members recently. We had Bowser, Jacob, Emilio, let's see, what are the other members? And Mr. Savage McQueen all became members. Thank you very much for the support. That means they clicked on the join button right down below the video. Absolutely helps us helps us creating content. You guys are amazing. Let's go with the super chats. Darren Pogson in a super chat earlier, they said, do you think Pro is a financially viable do you think Pro is financially viable in the long term? The number of games we're getting is crazy. Not complaining, but I don't see how it's profitable. Well, okay, so Darren, here I'm gonna give you an example that goes with consoles. A lot of times, the big consoles, the Xbox, the PlayStations, when they come out, every single time that Microsoft sells an Xbox, especially at the beginning, they lose money. They price it below what it costs to make. Now, over time, they are able to make them cheaper, but at the very beginning, when a brand new console launches, it takes a whole it costs more than they charge for that particular device. Okay, so where do they make up that money? Well, they make up that money on licensing games to be played on the platform. They make up that money on the first party software that they sell, and that's what Google's doing here. But they don't have a hardware bundle, or they don't have a hardware to really sell outside of the controller and the Chromecast, which is, we'll be honest, pretty cheap, right? It's very, very cheap, especially if you think about the other things that the Chromecast can be used for. We use ours in the house every single day. So is it financially viable for them to keep giving us all these pro games? Yes, I believe so, because that makes people subscribe. And if people are subscribed, then they're going to continue to make money when people may or may not buy a game, if that makes sense. And not only that, but if people are subscribed, right, and they are playing these games on the platform, then the platform as a whole grows. And if the platform as a whole grows, then more content creators will start targeting it. If more content creators start targeting it, then content creators are making videos about YouTube, possibly even using the YouTube live streaming interface without OBS or whatever. And then YouTube is making money off of those videos via advertisements and things like that. And then they also make up money on the back end. So look, if they weren't going to make money from this, they wouldn't do it. That's something you got to keep in mind. But thank you very much for the question. Deflem sent in a super chat with no comment, but thank you very much. Avery Krause sent in a super chat. They said, speaking as one of the players, the Crowdplay experience was so smooth. I was in the game in seconds, looking forward to this rolling out further. Well, thank you very much, Avery Krause. I wish that I had had the time to sit down and try it out myself at that day, but I couldn't. Maybe I'll try it tomorrow on that other guy's channel. Although I feel bad taking a copy of Mortal Kombat 11 because I'm not going to play Mortal Kombat 11. It's just not my kind of game. I would rather play like Power Rangers. I wish that they were going with some other game, a more family-friendly game in order to play. But anyway, moving on. But thank you very much, Avery, for the super chat, as well as thank you to Sukotronic for their super chat. Ray Sherrod sent in a super chat. They said, play Strange Brigade. I'm going to play it soon. It's a multiplayer-focused game. I want to focus on the multiplayer aspect of it. That would have been a great game. Oh, my God. Google, why didn't you go with Strange Brigade for your Crowdplay thing? It would have brought in a bunch of people, and people who had pro would be able to get it. Anyway, Gem sent in a super chat. They said, why is Stadiacast so great? You want to know why Stadiacast is so great? It's because we have a fantastic audience. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you. Let's see. Ted A sent in a $2 super chat. No comment. Thank you very much for that. Lance Muzzy sent in a super chat with no comment as well. They're just happy to support. All of these comments that come, or these super chats that come in with no comment attached to them, like, you're not even just trying to get me to notice what you said. You're just trying to support the channel, and man, do I appreciate that. Michael Peterson sent in a super chat. They said, love the show. Keep up the awesome work. I will do my best. I promise. Gem sent in a super chat. They said, Sekiro is published by Activision. That's true. It's developed by From Software and published by Activision. So will we see other Activision games? I don't know. Most Activision games I could not care less about, but I want Diablo 4. I want to play Diablo 4, and I want to play it on Stadia with a controller. I don't want to play it on a mouse and keyboard. After playing Diablo 3 on the PS4 and also having played it on the computer, it's so much better with a controller. I want to play Diablo 4 and I want to play it on Stadia. So hopefully, what Activision games do you guys want to see come to Google Stadia? Let me know in the comment section down below or in the chat right over there. Let's see. Pratt Pratt became a member. Thank you very much, Pratt and Mark Woodhall, for becoming members. Jay Chussel22 sent in a super chat. They said, 240 viewers, but only 92 likes. We can do better off. Thank you very much, Jay Chussel. Yeah, listen, that's because I didn't remind people. People always get mad at YouTubers for saying, don't forget to click on all of the YouTube buttons because it helps. There's a reason why we're always doing that, because it really does help. So click on all the things. And then we have Greg Doyle send in a super chat. They said, people forget about all the things that you need to buy with a console to play, like more accessories, controllers, etc. The savings will show soon. You know, that's true. If I want to play on Stadia, I don't have to buy all... Well, I don't know that that's necessarily... I mean, if I want to play on Stadia, I don't have to have a controller, but if I want to play multiplayer, then I have to have multiple controllers, right? So I don't know that necessarily... I don't know, like, because you're going to have to buy stuff for Stadia if you want to do multiplayer stuff, which is really the argument that you're making here, Greg. So I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that, but maybe there's accessories that I'm not thinking of. And if there are, let me know. Jem sent in another super chat. They said, Diablo 4, you meant to say Crash Bandicoot 4. No, I didn't. I've never played a Crash Bandicoot game. They don't look fun to me. I did not mean to say that. But I do hope that it comes to Google Stadia for you. I hope that it comes for you. Mind Plague sent in a super chat with, they just said cheers and a little mug icon. So that's it for our super chats that have come in. If more come in before I finish up the show, I'll be sure to mention that. But we've also got a message that came in on Twitter. If you didn't know, you can follow us on Twitter at Stadiacast. You can get a hold of me directly at Run Jump Stomp. But Elias Wolf 47 on Twitter sent in a tweet, and they said, Did you know that you can get 3 months Stadia Pro for buying a Chromebook? And then they gave a link to 9to5 Google. They said, it worked fine for me. I am a Pro subscriber since launch, and as soon as I redeemed the code, I got 3 months added to my current subscription. So, hey, if you have bought a Chromebook recently, and I believe that it has to be a Chromebook that came out, I'm trying to find the exact information. The code must be redeemed by January 14th, 2021. Where is it here? I can't find it. I think I read earlier that it has to be here it is. Chromebooks launched after June 2017 are eligible. So if you bought a Chromebook in the past couple of years, you may be able to access this. Now, if you want to access it, there is a link in the show notes. So again, go to runjumpstomp.com. There is show notes there that will take you to this particular article, and you can get 3 months added onto your Stadia Pro. Or hey, maybe you're watching this and you don't have Stadia Pro. You can get Stadia Pro right now, and that gives you, I think, 20 games. Including some really fantastic games like Orcs Must Die 3, Guilt, some really, really fantastic games. Like, I think that so far I've paid for like 3 months of Stadia Pro in the last 8 months because they gave us so much free time. Man, it's a fantastic deal. We also got a tweet from Roger Ling. They said, Elder Scrolls Online now supports HDR on Stadia. I'm sure this wasn't the case before. You are correct, Roger. Now, when you press the Stadia button and check connection, the HDR is checked there. I didn't see this before. Yes, you are 100% right. It does now support HDR. It did not at the beginning. ZeniMax specifically said it doesn't support it, but we're working on that. It's going to be a patch soon, and now apparently it has. So there you go. That's one more thing that I want to point out to everybody. Is because a game launches and has some stumbling blocks doesn't mean that game is going to stumble forever. And I'm going to use 2 examples that are both MMOs that I want to make sure that everybody understands. All right. Elder Scrolls Online, Final Fantasy XIV, both of those games, when they first launched, and I'm not talking about Stadia, I'm just talking in general, when they first launched, were absolute disasters. They were nightmare scenarios. And ZeniMax pulled up their boots. Square Enix pulled up their boots. And they said, let's get this fixed. And they fixed those games and turned them into fantastic, fantastic games. And I'm sure that there have been plenty of times where this has happened in the past. And I'm sure that as time goes on, especially for a game like an MMO where they're continually updating stuff, I bet you at some point we have better versions of Elder Scrolls Online on Stadia than we did when it first launched a month ago. Anyway, or 2 months, June 17th, I think it was. Anyway, that's it for our show today. Follow the show on Twitter at Stadiacast. You can follow me on Twitter at RunJumpStomp. My co-host, who did not join me today, is at Dasme. That's DASME. You can join the Stadiacast Discord and get in there and hang out with 1,500 other awesome people. RunJumpStomp.com/Discord. While you're already joining Discords, Lloyd has his Discord at res.tv/Discord. The music that you are about to hear is Subterranean Kamikaze by Zircon. You can check out their stuff at zirconstudios.bandcamp.com. Thank you all for hanging out with me. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. All right. Oh, my goodness. Whew. My voice talking nonstop. That's the wrong button. Talking nonstop for an hour. Actually, it's longer than an hour. It was an hour recorded. It was about an hour and a half unrecorded. That is exhausting. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. And thanks for all the super chats and the members and all of the conversation. Let me close this, and we'll go over there. Why not play a game via live stream? Well, I would, but I'm exhausted from from talking for the last hour and a half. It's not an easy thing to do. Just talking nonstop, plus thinking on my feet the whole time. Like it really is a lot of work. I may play a game later. I don't know. Who knows? Have some water. Yeah, I've been drinking water the whole time. Cheers, everybody. All right, let's turn on some music. But hey, you know what? We've got the post show. We can hang out during the post show for a little bit. We always have the post show. I do 5 shows a day at work. Well, yeah, but I'm not speaking the whole time. When I'm teaching, my kids are doing most of the talking. You know, I give them work to do, and then they accomplish it, and they work together to accomplish it. When I'm at work, I'm not talking all day. Except for the first few days of school. Then that's really draining. But yeah, thank you guys all for clicking all of the YouTube buttons for for the super chats and the memberships. You guys are fantastic. I think, let me look. I want to see where we are on members right now. We've been constantly going up. But I anticipate it's going to level off. Nope. This says July had fewer members than June, unfortunately. June was our peak. Greg Doyle, am I excited for Baldur's Gate at all? Oh my god, absolutely. Baldur's Gate. I'm so very much excited for that game. August is going to be a pretty huge month, I think, for Stadia, especially if Baldur's Gate comes out. Are there any good Stadia Chrome extensions you use? I use Stadia Plus and it's great. Just wondering what there are. I don't use extensions for Stadia at all. Well, yeah, we always blame Kodiak for everything. You guys don't, you know, if you're new here, you might not be aware, but we always blame Kodiak for everything. But that's because he's awesome and can handle it. SS4? What's SS4? I'm really looking forward to that golf game. That golf game looks fantastic. By the way, what do you guys think of this camera angle? Oh, Kodiak. Oh, Serious Sam 4. That's right. I forgot. Oh my god, that's this month? Holy cow. I can never leave my camera alone. I always have to move it around. Ooh. I always have to move it around. So, like, sometimes it'll be here, sometimes it'll be here. Yeah, it's my monitor. It's my monitor. See, when I record videos, like, that disappears when I'm in this because I zoom in a little bit. This is the full zoomed out version, so you can see more of the room. Yeah, it's my monitor. Right there. You know what I need? I need a sticker. I need to put a sticker right there on the monitor. What's on my t-shirt? I don't have the Skycam plugged in. My t-shirt is the 732nd Military Intelligence Brigade, which is the unit I was in when I was in the Army. And hey there, Eddie. SNES Mapper, is Google going to give you Crowdplay early access to test? I haven't heard anything, SNES. Fingers crossed. Stadia Go, of the games available, what are you most looking forward to using with Crowdplay? I think Super Bomberman R looks fan. Oh, you mean available now? I'd have to look. Let me look at the games. Let me look at all games. Store. Where's the all games? Well, first off, Strange Brigade looks like a perfect game for oh my god, I can't. My brain isn't working for Crowdplay. Borderlands 3 would be great with Crowdplay. Crata would be good with Crowdplay. Any of the racing games would be very good with Crowdplay. Lara Croft would be good. Any game that has multiplayer where you, well, you know what? Lara Croft probably wouldn't be all that good with Crowdplay. Any game that has multiplayer where the multiplayer sessions are short, contained segments. See you later, Gem. Orcs Must Die would be great with Crowdplay because then I could do a level. One person could join me. We could do the thing together, and then they would leave, and we would go in and do the next one. Victor says, I'm not sure that Crowdplay will be better than some of the setups the content creators currently use. Oh, yes, it will. Because all you have to do is click a button, and then it automatically launches the game and puts you in the match with them. Listen, I'm a content creator, and I've used these bots in order to play with my my community before, and it's always a huge hassle because we have to go out there, we have to exchange, we have to become friends on that platform. I have to send an invite. It's this huge rigmarole, and it is not fun to do. The actual playing with the community is fun, but all of the stuff that happens between is time consuming and just really frustrating. With Crowdplay, I turn it on and YouTube/Stadia handles all of that stuff for me. It just makes it done. Yeah, Elder Scrolls Online would not be good for Crowdplay. Maybe for dungeons. Like, hey, I'm running a dungeon, come join me. But I don't know. All right, everybody, I am going to take off. I hope you guys have an awesome day. If you want to keep this conversation going, join the Discord. There is a link in the description down below. Join the Discord, read the rules, hop into the Stadiacast channel, and continue this conversation. I'm out of here. You guys have an awesome day. Bye-bye.